The alarm bells screamed through the Federation monitoring station like angry metal birds. Commander Quan Hyuk jumped from his chair so fast that his coffee cup flew across the control room. Hot liquid splashed against the wall as red warning. Lights painted everything the color of blood. "What's happening?" Quan Hyuk shouted over the noise. His hands moved quickly across the control panel, trying to find the source of the alarm. Dr. Na Yeon ran to her science station. Her fingers danced over the buttons and screens. Numbers and charts filled her monitor faster than she could read them. "Sir, I'm getting readings I've never seen before. Something big is coming out of hyperspace." "How big?" Quan Hyuk asked. He moved to stand behind her, watching the data scroll down the screen. "Bigger than a Federation battlecruiser." "Much bigger." Nayan's voice cracked a little. She had been studying space vessels for 15 years, but this was different. "The energy signature is off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it's not in our database." The space around their station began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot ground. Reality seemed to bend and twist. Then, with a flash of light that made everyone cover their eyes, something massive appeared in the darkness of space. Quan Hyuk stared at the main screen. His mouth fell open. The ship that had just arrived was enormous. It was dark gray, almost black, with sharp edges that looked like they could cut through anything. Strange lights pulsed along its hull in patterns he had never seen before. The vessel was at least 3 times longer than the biggest Federation warship. "By the void," whispered Li Bin from the communication station. "What is that thing?" Na Yeon's scanner beeped rapidly. "Sir, I'm detecting weapons systems. Lots of them. This ship has more firepower than our entire defense fleet." Quan Hyuk felt sweat form on his forehead. He had been in charge of this monitoring station for 8 years. His job was to watch for pirates and smugglers, not to face something like this. "Can you identify the design? What species built this?" "I'm trying, but..." Na Yeon paused. Her face went pale. "Sir, the computer is showing a match, but it can't be right." "What match?" "The ship design has elements that match human architecture from the old databases. But that's impossible. Humans have been extinct for 300 years. The communications board lit up with incoming signals. Li Bin put his hand to his earpiece. "Sir, I'm getting a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it on speakers," Quan Hyuk ordered. The voice that filled the control room was deep and cold. It spoke Federation standard, but with an accent none of them recognized. "Federation Monitoring Station, this is Captain Park Day of the Terran. Defense Fleet Vessel Righteous Fury, you have exactly 1 hour to evacuate all Federation personnel from this system." Silence filled the control room. Quan Hyuk felt his heart beating so hard he could hear it in his ears. Terran meant human, but humans were gone. They had been wiped out during the Great Purge 3 centuries ago. "Sir?" Li Bin looked at him, with wide eyes. "Should I respond?" Quan Hyuk nodded slowly. "Open a channel." He cleared his throat and tried to keep his voice steady. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Quan Hyuk of Federation Monitoring Station Kepler 442. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." The response came immediately. "My intentions are simple, Commander. I am here to reclaim what was stolen. From my people. You have 58 minutes to evacuate." "I don't understand," Quan Hyuk said. "If you claim to be human, that's impossible. Humans were..." He stopped. He didn't want to say the word extinct to someone claiming to be one. Captain Park Day's laugh was like ice breaking. "Extinct? Is that what they taught you? Humans were murdered, Commander. Billions of us. But some survived. Some escaped to the dark places between galaxies. And now we have returned. Nayeon was frantically working at her station. She looked up at Kwan Hyuk with fear in her eyes. Sir, I'm detecting more ships jumping into the system. Lots more. The main screen changed to show the space around them. One by one, more ships appeared. Each one was as large and threatening as the first. They moved with perfect coordination, taking positions around the planet below. How many? Kwan Hyuk asked. 12. No, 15. 20 ships now, sir. They're surrounding the entire system. Lee Bin's communication board was going crazy with signals. Sir, I'm getting reports from other stations. Human ships are appearing all across Federation space. Hundreds of them. Captain Parkday's voice came over the speakers again. Commander Kwan Hyuk, I suggest you contact your superiors immediately. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them we remember what they did to us. Tell them their judgment day has arrived. What do you want? Kwan Hyuk asked. Justice, Parkday replied. 300 years ago, the Federation decided that humans were too dangerous to exist. They hunted us across the galaxy. They killed our children, destroyed our worlds, and erased us from history. They thought they had succeeded. The human captain paused. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with controlled anger. But humans are hard to kill, Commander. We are survivors. We are fighters, and we never forget. Nayeon looked up from her scanner. Sir, the human ship is charging some kind of weapon system. Energy levels are increasing rapidly. Captain Parkday, Kwan Hyuk said quickly. There must be some mistake. The current Federation government had nothing to do with events 300 years ago. We can negotiate. We can find a peaceful solution. Peaceful. Parkday's voice was like cold metal. Was it peaceful when Federation ships burned our colonies? Was it peaceful when they hunted down human refugees and killed them in space? Was it peaceful when they made sure no human child would ever be born again? The lights in the control room flickered as the human ship's energy output spiked. Everyone held their breath. You have 45 minutes, Commander, Parkday said. Use them wisely. Kwan Hyuk turned to his crew. Lee Bin, send an emergency. Message to Federation Command. Priority 1. Tell them we have human vessels in the system and they're demanding evacuation. Sir, Nayeon said, should we prepare to abandon the station? Kwan Hyuk looked at the massive human ship on the screen. Its weapons were clearly visible now, glowing with energy that made the space around them shimmer. He thought about his crew, about the scientists and workers on the planet below, about everything he was responsible for. Start evacuation procedures, he ordered. All non-essential personnel to the escape pods. Send shuttles to the research facilities on the planet. Move fast. As his crew rushed to follow orders, Kwan Hyuk stared at the human ships surrounding them. He had studied history in school. He knew about the Great Purge, about how the Federation had decided humans were too aggressive and unpredictable to share the galaxy with. But that was ancient history. Those people were long dead. Now their children had returned, and they were angry. The timer on his console showed 38 minutes remaining. 38 minutes before humanity made their next move. Whatever that move was, Kwan Hyuk had the feeling that the galaxy would never be the same again. Outside his window, the human battleship Righteous Fury hung in space like a dark promise. Its weapons pointed at everything the Federation had built. In this system, the humans were back, and they were not here to talk. Admiral Cho Min was eating breakfast when the emergency signal reached Federation Command. His eggs were still hot when the red alert klaxon started screaming through the massive space station that served as the military headquarters for the entire galaxy. He dropped his fork and ran to the command center. Officers were already rushing to their stations, pulling on uniforms and checking weapons. The main screen showed a map of Federation space, and it was covered in red warning symbols. "Report!" Cho Min shouted as he took his place at the command console. Captain O'Jun, his chief of staff, looked pale. "Sir, we're receiving emergency transmissions from monitoring stations across 12 sectors. Unknown vessels are appearing throughout Federation space." "Pirates? Smugglers?" "No, sir. The ships are too big, too advanced." "And, sir—" Jun paused. "The commanders are reporting that these vessels claim to be human." Cho Min felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "That's impossible. Humans are extinct." "That's what we thought, sir. But the evidence is overwhelming. We have visual confirmation of 23 vessels so far, all using design patterns that match historical human architecture." The doors to the command center burst open. Chancellor Bei Wan strode in, followed by his advisors and security guards. The Chancellor was a tall, thin man who usually looked calm and in control. Today he looked scared. "Admiral," Bei Wan said, "I need answers. My intelligence reports say human warships are demanding the evacuation of entire star systems. What is happening?" Before Cho Min could answer, another officer called out, "Sir, incoming transmission from Kepler 442 monitoring station. They say the human commander wants to speak directly to Federation leadership." "Put it through," Bei Wan ordered. The main screen changed to show a man in a dark uniform. His face was hard, with scars across his cheek and cold eyes that seemed to look right through them. Behind him, they could see the bridge of what was obviously a warship. "I am Captain Park Day of the Terran Defense Fleet," the man said. His voice was calm but filled with controlled anger. "I speak for humanity, and I have a message for the Federation." Chancellor Bei Wan stepped forward. "Captain, I am Chancellor Bei Wan, leader of the Galactic Federation. If you truly represent humanity, then we need to talk. There has been a terrible misunderstanding." Park Day's laugh was cold. "Misunderstanding? Is that what you call the systematic murder of 8 billion human beings?" "That happened 3 centuries ago," Bei Wan said. "The people responsible are long dead. The current Federation government had nothing to do with those events." "But you benefited from them," Park Day replied. "You built your civilization on the ashes of ours. You took our worlds, our resources, our place in the galaxy, and you taught your children that it was necessary, that humans were monsters who deserved to die." Dr. Ryu Hana, the Federation's chief scientist, stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair who had spent her life studying alien species. "Captain Park Day, I've studied the historical records. The Federation believed that humanity was eliminated completely. If humans survived, why didn't you make contact sooner? Why return now with warships?" Park Day turned his cold gaze to her. "Because, Doctor, we wanted to be sure. We spent 300 years in the dark spaces between galaxies, learning, growing, becoming stronger. We watched your civilization expand into our former territories. We listened to your communications. We learned about your culture." He paused, and when he continued, his voice was like ice. "We learned that the Federation still considers the Great Purge to be a necessary action. We learned that human history has been erased from your schools. We learned that when Federation citizens discover human artifacts, they are destroyed to prevent contamination of your pure society. Chancellor Bei Wan looked uncomfortable. The Federation has moved beyond those old policies. We believe in peace and cooperation between all species. All species except humans, Park Day said. Tell me, Chancellor, what would happen if a human refugee ship appeared at one of your worlds today? Would they be welcomed? Would they be given aid and shelter? The silence in the command center was deafening. Everyone knew the answer. Human DNA was still considered dangerous. Any discovery of human remains or technology was reported to Special Federation units for immediate destruction. I thought so, Park Day continued. Which brings us to why we're here. The Federation has 72 standard hours to surrender, unconditionally, and submit to human judgment for crimes against humanity. That's impossible, Admiral Cho Min shouted. The Federation controls thousands of worlds and billions of citizens. We have the largest fleet in galactic history. Park Day smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Admiral, let me show you something. The screen split to show another view. It was the Federation defense platform at Kepler 442, a massive structure bristling with weapons and shields. As they watched, a beam of light shot out from the human ship. The beam passed right through the platform's shields as if they weren't there. The entire structure simply vanished, turned into glowing particles that drifted away into space. That was a warning shot, Park Day said. The platform's crew was evacuated first. We could have destroyed your entire monitoring station just as easily. But we chose not to. Remember that when you consider your response. Dr. Ryu Hana stared at the screen in shock. How is that possible? Our shields are designed to stop any known weapon. Your shields are designed to stop weapons, you understand, Park Day replied. Humanity has had 300 years to develop new technologies. 300 years of anger to fuel our research. 300 years to prepare for this day. More reports were coming in from across Federation space. Officers called out locations where human ships had appeared. Each report was the same, massive vessels with unknown technology making the same demand for surrender. Captain, Chancellor Bei Wan said, surely we can negotiate. The Federation is willing to make reparations for past wrongs. We can establish trade agreements, cultural exchanges, mutual defense treaties. The time for negotiation ended 3 centuries ago, Park Day said. When Federation ships hunted down the last human colony ships, when they killed children who had never harmed anyone, when they decided that genocide was an acceptable solution to their fears. He leaned forward, and his eyes seemed to burn with cold fire. You have 71 hours and 37 minutes remaining. Use that time to prepare your surrender, or use it to say goodbye to your loved ones. The choice is yours. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Chancellor Bei Wan turned to Admiral Cho Min. How many ships do we have available for immediate deployment? The 7th Fleet can be ready to move in 6 hours, Cho Min replied. That's 250 vessels, including our newest battle cruisers. And you think that's enough to fight these human ships? Cho Min looked at the empty space where the defense platform had been. I don't know, sir, but we have to try. We can't just surrender the entire Federation. Dr. Ryu Hana was studying the data from the human weapon on her tablet. Chancellor, I need to analyze this technology. If we can understand how their weapons work, maybe we can develop countermeasures. Do it, Bei Wan ordered. I want every scientist in the Federation working on this. And Admiral, prepare the fleet for battle. If negotiations fail, we may have to fight. As the command center erupted into activity, Chancellor Bei Wan stared at the map of Federation space. Red warning symbols marked human ships at strategic locations throughout their territory. They had appeared with perfect coordination, as if they had been planning this moment for centuries. Maybe they had been. Outside the command station's windows, the stars looked the same as they always had. But Bei Wan knew that everything had changed. Somewhere out there in the darkness, humanity was watching and waiting, and they were very, very angry. 24 hours had passed since the first human ships appeared. The Federation Command Center buzzed with constant activity as reports flowed in from across the galaxy. More human vessels had been spotted, always at critical locations. Military, bases, major trade routes, important colonies. The humans seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum impact. Admiral Cho Min hadn't slept. His eyes were red from staring at tactical displays, trying to find some weakness in the human positions. But every analysis came back the same way. The human ships were positioned perfectly. They controlled all the major hyperspace routes. Any Federation fleet movement could be detected and stopped. "Sir," Captain O'Jun approached with a data pad. "We've received responses from all sector commanders. The humans have made the same. Demand everywhere. Surrender in 72 hours, or face the consequences." "Have any of our commanders tried to engage them?" Admiral Kang tried to run a probe mission in the Vega sector. His scout ships couldn't even get close. Some kind of energy field surrounds the human vessels. Our ships just stopped. Dead in space. The humans let them drift for an hour, then towed them to safety and released them with a message. What message? Don't try that again. Before Cho Min could respond, all the communication screens in the command center activated at once. Every display showed the same thing: Captain Park Day standing on his ship's bridge. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him stood other humans in similar dark uniforms. Men and women of different ages, all with the same cold, determined look in their eyes. "People of the Federation," Park Day began, "I am Captain Park Day, speaking for the Terran Defense Fleet and all surviving humans. 47 hours remain until our deadline. I thought it was time you learned the truth about what happened 300 years ago." Chancellor Bei Wan entered the command center just as Park Day continued speaking. "Your leaders have told you that the Great Purge was necessary, that humans were violent and dangerous, that we threatened galactic peace. Let me show you what really happened." The screen changed to display historical records. Images of human colonies, peaceful farming, worlds, research stations, families working in fields, children playing, scientists making discoveries that benefited all species. These were human worlds before the Purge. Park Day's voice continued over the images. "We were explorers, farmers, teachers, artists. We had been part of the galactic community for over 200 years. We contributed to science, to culture, to peace." The images changed to show Federation fleets approaching human worlds. The Federation leadership decided we were growing too quickly. Our technology was advancing too fast. Our colonies were becoming too successful. They feared we would eventually challenge their control of the galaxy. What came next made several Federation officers in the command center look away. The human worlds were burning. Ships trying to evacuate were destroyed. Refugee convoys were hunted down and eliminated. The Federation didn't just kill human soldiers, Park Day said. They killed everyone. Children in schools, patients in hospitals, families trying to escape in small ships. 8 billion human beings were murdered over the course of 6 months. Dr. Ryu Hana watched in horror as the records showed the systematic destruction of human civilization. These records, we were told the humans fought back, that it was a war. It wasn't a war, Park Day's image said, as if he had heard her. Wars are fought between armies. This was extermination. The Federation wanted to make sure no human would ever threaten them again. The historical footage ended, replaced by Park Day's face. But they made one mistake. A few thousand humans escaped to the edge of the galaxy. We found shelter in the dark spaces between star systems, in places so remote that the Federation never thought to look. Behind him, other humans stepped forward. An older woman spoke first. "I am Captain Kim Soo of the vessel Vengeance Incarnate. I was 7 years old when Federation ships destroyed my world. I watched my parents die. I spent 300 years making sure I would never watch helplessly again." A younger man stepped forward next. "I am Commander Song Mi of the destroyer Nemesis. My ancestors survived the purge by hiding in asteroid fields, eating whatever they could find, breathing recycled air for decades. We never forgot what was taken from us." One by one, other humans introduced themselves. Each one had a story of loss, of survival, of determination. All of them had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Captain Park Day stepped forward again. "During our exile, we made contact with other species the Federation had eliminated or driven away. We learned about civilizations that had been conquered and absorbed. We discovered that the Great Purge was not unique. It was simply the most thorough." Chancellor Bei Wan felt his stomach turn. "That's not true. The Federation protects smaller species. We bring peace and order to the galaxy." As if responding to his words, Park Day continued. "The Federation tells its citizens that they bring peace, but peace for whom? Peace at what cost? How many species have been quietly eliminated when they became inconvenient? How many worlds have been taken in the name of galactic security?" The IB screen showed a list of species names, dozens of them, many that Federation citizens had never heard of. "All extinct," Park Day said. "All eliminated by Federation forces over the past 500 years. Their worlds are now Federation colonies. Their resources feed Federation citizens. Their cultures have been erased from history." Admiral Cho Min stared at the list. Some of those names were familiar from classified military reports. Operations that had been described as necessary interventions or peacekeeping missions. "The Federation has built its civilization on the graves of others," Park Day continued. "You live in luxury bought with the blood of entire species. You tell yourselves stories about peace and justice while your government commits genocide whenever it's convenient." Dr. Ryu Hana was frantically checking her records. "Some of these species, I remember studying them. We were told they died out naturally. Disease, environmental collapse, internal wars. Lies," Park Day said. "All lies. The Federation is very good at creating false histories. They had 300 years to perfect the story of the human problem and its solution." The human captain's expression grew harder. "But humans survived. We grew stronger in exile. We developed technologies your scientists can't even imagine. We made alliances with other survivors, other species that escaped Federation genocide, and we planned." Behind him, the other humans nodded grimly. Captain Kim Soo stepped forward. "For 3 centuries, we watched Federation expansion. We monitored your communications. We studied your weaknesses. We prepared for the day when we would return to claim justice." "This is that day," Park Day said. In 46 hours, the Federation will surrender unconditionally. Every world taken from exterminated species will be returned to their survivors. Every Federation official involved in genocidal operations will face trial. Every lie will be exposed. Chancellor Bei Wan found his voice. Captain, surely we can find a peaceful solution. The current Federation government can work with humanity to address past wrongs. We can establish truth and reconciliation commissions. We can provide reparations. Park Day's smile was cold as space. Chancellor, your current government has been systematically destroying human artifacts and remains for 300 years. Your peaceful Federation maintains special units whose only purpose is to eliminate any trace that humans ever existed. Your scientists are still under orders to report any discovery of human DNA for immediate destruction. The silence in the command center was absolute. Everyone knew he was right. There will be no negotiation, Park Day continued. No compromise, no gradual reform. The Federation as it exists today will end. What replaces it will be determined by those who survived. Your cruelty, not by those who benefited from it. The transmission was ending, but Park Day had one final message. To Federation military personnel, we know you are preparing to fight. We know your fleet positions, your battle plans, your weapon capabilities. We have been watching you for centuries. You cannot surprise us. You cannot defeat us, but you can choose not to die uselessly. To Federation civilians, you are not our enemies. Most of you had nothing to do with the crimes of your government. When the time comes, cooperate with our forces, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and you will face the same fate your leaders planned for us. The screen went dark, leaving the command center in stunned silence. After a moment, Chancellor Bei Wan spoke. Admiral, what are our chances in a direct military engagement? Cho Min looked at the tactical displays showing human ship positions. Honestly, sir, based on what we've seen of their technology, I don't think we have any chance at all. Then what do you recommend? Prayer, sir. Prayer that they're more merciful than we were. 18 hours remained until the human deadline. Admiral Cho Min stood in the briefing room aboard his flagship, the Federation battlecruiser Eternal Victory. Around the holographic table, his best commanders studied the tactical display showing the Vega system where they would make their attack. The human vessel Vengeance Incarnate is holding position near the fourth planet, Captain O. Jun explained, pointing to the display. Long-range scans show it's alone. No escort vessels, no support fleet. Commander Yang Ho, leader of the elite strike squadron, leaned forward. One ship against our entire battle group? Either they're overconfident, or it's a trap. It has to be overconfidence, said Captain Lee Wan, commander of the heavy cruiser Iron Fist. I don't care how advanced their technology is. No single ship can face 50 Federation vessels and survive. Admiral Cho Min wasn't so sure. The destruction of the defense platform at Kepler 442 had been almost casual. The human weapons had passed through Federation shields like they didn't exist. But he had his orders from Chancellor Bei Wan. The Federation had to test human capabilities before the deadline expired. Remember, Cho Min told his commanders, this is a probe mission. We engage the human ship with everything we have, learn what we can about their defenses and weapons, then withdraw if necessary. Sir, Commander Yang Ho asked, what if we can't withdraw? The question hung in the air like a cold wind. Everyone in the room knew the answer, but no one wanted to say it. Then we die learning something useful, Cho Min replied finally. 2 hours later, the Federation fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system. 50 warships in perfect formation, representing the finest technology the Federation had developed over 5 centuries. Battle cruisers with armor that could withstand star-class weapons, destroyers with speed that could outrun light itself, heavy cruisers carrying quantum torpedoes capable of cracking planets, and in the center of the system, waiting for them, was a single human ship. The Vengeance Incarnate was smaller than the Federation battle cruisers, but it looked more dangerous. Its hull was the color of deep space, so dark it seemed to absorb light. Strange energies flickered along its edges, and weapon ports glowed with power that made the sensors scream warnings. "All ships, this is Admiral Cho Min," he broadcast to his fleet. "Form attack formation Omega. Prepare quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons. Raise all shields to maximum." The Federation ships spread out in a complex pattern designed to prevent any single weapon from destroying multiple vessels. They had practiced this formation hundreds of times against every known threat in the galaxy. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "the human ship isn't raising shields. No defensive posture at all. They're just sitting there." Through the viewport, Cho Min could see the human vessel hanging motionless in space. It wasn't even pointing its weapons at the approaching Federation fleet. Either they were supremely confident, or they had already given up. "Open a channel." "To the human ship," Cho Min ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Vengeance Incarnate. The human captain was a woman who looked to be in her 40s with short black hair and scars across her face. She wore the same dark uniform as the other humans, but her expression was different. Where Captain Park Day had shown controlled anger, this woman looked almost bored. "I am Captain Kim Soo of the Terran vessel Vengeance Incarnate," she said, in a calm voice. "Admiral Cho Min, I presume? I've been waiting for you." "Captain Kim Soo, I am Admiral Cho Min of the Federation 7th Fleet. You are outnumbered 50-1. Surrender now and your crew will be treated according to galactic law." Kim Soo smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Admiral, let me save us both some time. You're here to test our capabilities, to see if human ships can really stand against Federation technology. You want to know if we're bluffing." She leaned back in her command chair. "I could tell you that. We're not bluffing. I could explain that your weapons can't hurt us and that we could destroy your entire fleet without breaking formation. But you wouldn't believe me unless you saw it for yourself. Then you won't surrender?" "Admiral, I haven't raised my shields. I haven't charged my weapons. I haven't even turned my ship to face your fleet. Does that sound like someone who's worried about 50 Federation warships?" Cho Min felt a chill run down his spine, but he had his orders. "All ships target the human vessel. Fire at will." What happened next would be talked about in military academies for generations, assuming anyone survived to teach it. 50 Federation warships opened fire simultaneously. Quantum torpedoes that could destroy cities streaked through space toward the human ship. Plasma beams hot enough to melt asteroids lanced through the darkness. Particle cannons that could crack moon-sized objects discharged their full power. The weapons struck the Vengeance Incarnate dead center. The explosion was so bright that automatic filters had to protect human eyes from being burned. Energy readings went off the scale. The space around the human ship became a miniature star. When the light faded, the human ship was still there, undamaged, unchanged, not even a scorch mark on its hull. "How is that possible?" Commander Yang Ho whispered. On the screen, Captain Kim Soo hadn't even moved from her chair. "Impressive light show, Admiral. Are you finished?" "That's impossible," Cho Min breathed. Nothing can survive that much firepower. Admiral, Kim Soo said, your weapons are based on manipulating matter and energy as you understand them. What you don't understand is that there are forces beyond the physical universe. During our exile, humanity learned to work with those forces. She stood up from her chair. Would you like a demonstration of human weapons, Admiral? Before Cho Min could respond, something happened to his ship. The lights flickered, the artificial gravity wavered, every system on the bridge began shutting down one by one. Sir, his communications officer called out, I'm losing contact with the fleet. All ships are reporting system failures. Through the viewport, Cho Min could see the other Federation vessels drifting helplessly. Their engines were dead. Their weapons were offline. Their shields had collapsed. 50 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy had been disabled by a single pulse from the human ship. But they weren't destroyed. The hulls were intact. Life support was still functioning. The crews were alive. You see, Admiral, Captain, Kim Soo said, we could have killed you all. Every ship, every crew member. It would have been easier than disabling you. But we chose not to. Cho Min's throat felt dry. Why? Because unlike the Federation, we don't believe in unnecessary killing. Your crews are soldiers following orders. They don't deserve to die for their leaders' crimes. She walked closer to the screen. Admiral, you have a choice to make. You can report back to your superiors that human technology is beyond anything the Federation can match. You can tell them that resistance is hopeless. Or you can die here and let your government wonder what happened to 50 warships. You're letting us go? I'm giving you the same mercy the Federation never showed human refugees, Kim Soo replied. Your ship systems will come back online in 1 hour. That's enough time for you to think about what you've seen here today. The transmission ended, leaving Cho Min alone with his thoughts and his disabled fleet. Around him, his officers sat in stunned silence. The most powerful Federation battle group ever assembled had been rendered helpless by a single human ship that hadn't even bothered to point its weapons at them. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, what do we tell command? Cho Min looked out at the human ship, still sitting motionless in space, waiting patiently for the Federation systems to come back online, showing mercy to enemies who had never shown mercy to them. We tell them the truth, he said finally. We tell them that the humans aren't bluffing. We tell them that resistance is suicide. He paused, thinking about the images Captain Park Day had shown them. Human colonies burning, refugee ships being hunted down and destroyed, children dying in the darkness of space. And we tell them, he continued, that maybe we deserve what's coming. An hour later, the Federation fleet limped back to headquarters. Behind them, the human ship Vengeance Incarnate resumed its lonely vigil, waiting for the deadline that was now only 16 hours away. The test was complete. The results were clear. Humanity had returned, and they were stronger than anyone had imagined. Director Yang Ho sat in his private office on the luxury space station Harmony Prime, staring at the emergency evacuation plans on his desk. Outside his window, the lights of the station's shopping districts and entertainment zones glowed normally, but he knew that normalcy was about to end forever. Yang Ho was one of the few people in the Federation who knew the complete truth about the Great Purge. As the former head of the Human Eradication Initiative, he had personally overseen the final phases of humanity's destruction. For 60 years he had lived with the knowledge that his orders had killed millions of human civilians. Now, they were coming for him. His communication console beeped with an urgent message. Yang Ho's hands shook as he opened it. The message was simple. Director Yang Ho, you have 1 hour to surrender yourself to human justice. If you attempt to flee, you will be hunted down. There is nowhere in the galaxy you can hide. Captain Song Mi, Terran vessel Nemesis. Yang Ho knew that name. Song Mi's family had been among the last humans to die in the Purge. He had watched the surveillance footage of their ship being destroyed as they tried to escape to the Outer Rim, a family of farmers who had never hurt anyone, vaporized by Federation. Weapons on his orders. He grabbed his personal communicator and called his security chief. Commander Park, prepare my private yacht immediately. We're leaving the station. Sir, the human deadline isn't for another 12 hours. Are you sure we should abandon our post? Yang Ho almost laughed at the question. Commander, the humans aren't waiting for their deadline to settle personal scores. They're hunting war criminals right now, and I'm at the top of their list. 20 minutes later, Yang Ho's luxury yacht Prosperity undocked from Harmony Prime. The ship was fast and equipped with the best stealth technology Federation money could buy. If he could reach the neutral zone, he might be able to disappear among the independent worlds that didn't answer to any government. The yacht had barely cleared the station's defense perimeter when the space in front of them began to ripple. Yang Ho's pilot, a steady veteran named Captain Li Do, suddenly gripped his controls with white knuckles. Sir, something's coming out of hyperspace directly ahead of us. The ship that appeared was sleek and predatory, like a metal shark designed for hunting. Its hull was the color of midnight, and weapon ports glowed with deadly energy. Along its side, in letters that seemed to burn with inner fire, was the name Nemesis. This is Captain Song Mi of the Terran vessel Nemesis. A woman's voice came over the communication system. Director Yang Ho, you will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Keep flying, Yang Ho ordered his pilot. Head for the asteroid belt. We can lose them in there. Captain Li Do shook his head. Sir, that ship appeared right in front of us. They knew exactly where we would be. I don't think we can outrun them. Try anyway. The yacht's engines roared to full power, accelerating toward the nearby asteroid field. Yang Ho had hidden supply caches there, secret bases where he could wait until this crisis passed. The Federation had other officials who had been involved in historical operations. Maybe the humans would be satisfied with catching a few of them. Behind them, the human ship followed at a leisurely pace. It wasn't even trying to catch up. Sir, Li Do said, they're not pursuing us. Why aren't they pursuing us? Yang Ho looked at the scanner display. The human ship was maintaining a steady distance, neither closing nor falling behind. Maybe their ship isn't as fast as it looks. Then space in front of them rippled again. Another human ship appeared directly in their path. This one was larger, more heavily armed. Its name was visible on the hull, Retribution. Director Yang Ho, a new voice said over the communicator. This is Commander Kim Jun of the vessel Retribution. You are surrounded. Surrender now, or we will disable your ship. Yang Ho looked at his scanner. Behind them was the Nemesis. Ahead was the Retribution. To port and starboard, space began to shimmer as more human ships appeared. They were completely surrounded. How many ships do they have? Li Do whispered. Too many, Yang Ho replied. Set course for the nearest Federation military base. If we can reach Admiral Park's patrol fleet, maybe they can protect us. The yacht changed course, heading for the military installation 3 light hours away. The human ships followed, maintaining their encirclement but not attacking. Director Yang Ho, Captain Song-mi's voice came again. "You're heading toward Federation Military Base Sigma-7. I should inform you that Admiral Park Min and his entire staff surrendered to human forces 1 hour ago. The base is now under our control." Yang Ho felt his last hope die. How is that possible? Park Min had 200 ships under his command. Had, Song-mi emphasized. Past tense. Admiral Park Min chose to surrender when he learned about his own involvement in hunting down human refugee convoys during the late stages of the Purge. He decided to face human justice rather than continue a hopeless fight. The communication channel crackled with interference, then cleared to show Captain Song-mi's face. She was younger than Yang Ho had expected, maybe 40 years old, with the same cold determination he had seen in the other human commanders. "Director, let me explain your situation," she said. "You are responsible for the deaths of 1.2 million human civilians during the final year of the Purge. We have complete records of every order you gave, every ship you sent, every life you destroyed." Behind her, Yang Ho could see other humans, working at various stations. All of them looked calm and professional, like people doing a difficult but necessary job. "Among your victims were my grandparents, Kang Min and Su Jin, along with their 3 children," Song-mi continued. "They were farmers on the agricultural world haven. When you ordered the destruction of all human settlements in that sector, they tried to evacuate with other families." The screen changed to show historical footage. Yang Ho recognized it as surveillance video from one of his own ships. A small transport vessel fleeing from a burning planet packed with human refugees. "Your ships caught them 2 days from safety," Song-mi said. "My family wasn't carrying weapons. They weren't soldiers. They were just people trying to survive." Yang Ho watched as Federation fighters surrounded the refugee ship. He remembered giving the order personally. No human refugees were to be allowed to escape. The directive had come from the highest levels of government. "You could have taken them prisoner," Song-mi continued. "You could have simply destroyed their engines and left them stranded. But you chose to make sure no human would ever threaten the Federation again." The refugee ship exploded in the video. 53 people died in that moment, including Song-mi's family. "I was born on a hidden colony ship 3 years later," Song-mi said. "I grew up hearing stories about my grandparents, about the world they came from, about the life they wanted to build. I spent 37 years training for this moment." Yang Ho found his voice. "Captain Song-mi, I was following orders. The Human Eradication Initiative was a government policy, not my personal decision." "You could have refused those orders," Song-mi replied. "You could have warned human settlements about incoming attacks. You could have allowed some refugee ships to escape, but you didn't. You made the purge more efficient, more thorough, more deadly. I was protecting galactic civilization. You were committing genocide." Song-mi's voice was like ice. "And now you will face judgment for those crimes." Around Yang Ho's yacht, the human ships were closing in. Energy fields surrounded the small vessel, preventing any chance of escape. "Director Yang Ho," Song-mi said, "you have one final choice. You can come aboard our ship voluntarily, or we can drag you here by force. Either way, you will answer for what you did to my family and to millions of other innocent people." Yang Ho looked at his pilot. Captain Li Do was staring at the human, ships with resignation in his eyes. "Sir, I think we should surrender. They could have destroyed us easily, but they haven't." "Maybe they'll show mercy?" "Mercy?" Yang Ho laughed bitterly. "Did we show mercy to human refugees? Did we spare their children?" He thought about all the decisions he had made during the purge, all the orders he had given, all the lives he had destroyed in the name of galactic security. No, he said quietly. We didn't. Yang Ho reached for his communicator. Captain Song Mi, this is Director Yang Ho. I surrender unconditionally. A wise choice, Song Mi replied. Prepare to be transported aboard the Nemesis. And, Director, don't expect the same mercy you showed my grandparents. But unlike you, we believe in justice rather than vengeance. You'll get a fair trial before your execution. As the transport beam took hold of him, Yang Ho thought about the irony of his situation. He had spent 60 years believing that the Great Purge was necessary to protect civilization from human aggression. Now he was about to learn just how wrong he had been. The humans had returned, and they were far more civilized than the Federation had ever been. They captured their enemies instead of slaughtering them. They offered trials instead of summary executions. They showed restraint instead of overwhelming force. It was more mercy than Yang Ho deserved, and more than he had ever shown to them. Dr. Ryuhana had not slept in 3 days. Her laboratory aboard the Federation Research Station Deep Thought was littered with coffee cups, data pads, and holographic displays showing human ship configurations. As the Federation's leading expert on alien technology, she had been tasked with finding a way to counter human weapons. So far, she had failed completely. It doesn't make sense, she muttered to her assistant, Dr. Bei Jin. Energy can't simply pass through matter without interaction. Their weapons violate fundamental physics. Bei Jin looked up from his own analysis screen. What if they're not violating physics? What if they're using physics we don't understand? Ryuhana paused in her work. It was a disturbing thought. The Federation had always prided itself on being the most scientifically advanced civilization in the galaxy. The idea that humans had developed completely new branches of science during their exile was almost unthinkable. Show me the sensor readings from Admiral Cho Min's engagement again, she ordered. The holographic display filled with data from the battle at Vega. 50 Federation ships firing simultaneously at the human vessel Vengeance Incarnate. The incredible energy output as quantum torpedoes and plasma beams struck their target. And then, nothing. The human ship remained completely undamaged. Look at this, Ryuhana pointed to a specific reading. When our weapons hit the human ship, the energy didn't disappear. It didn't bounce off. It passed through the ship as if the ship wasn't there at all. But the ship was clearly there, Bei Jin said. Our visual sensors confirmed it. Our mass detectors picked it up. How can something be physically present but not interact with directed energy? Before Ryuhana could answer, her communication console chimed with an incoming message. The priority code indicated it was from the human fleet. Dr. Ryuhana, the message began. This is Captain Li Do of the Terran science vessel Eternal Vigil. I believe you have questions about our technology. I am prepared to provide some answers. Please respond if you wish to learn. Ryuhana stared at the message. A human captain was offering to explain their technology? After 3 days of failed research, she was desperate enough to try anything. Open a channel, she told Bei Jin. The main screen activated to show a human man in his 50s wearing the same dark uniform as the other human officers. But unlike the military commanders, this man had the look of a scientist. His eyes held curiosity rather than anger. Dr. Ryuhana, Captain Li Do said with a slight bow. I have studied your published research on quantum mechanics and dimensional theory. Your work on parallel space interactions was particularly impressive. Captain Li Do, Ryuhana replied carefully. Why would you want to help me understand your technology? Aren't we enemies? Are we? Li Du asked. I am a scientist, Doctor. You are a scientist. We both seek to understand the universe around us. The fact that our governments are in conflict doesn't change that shared purpose. He gestured to something off-screen. Besides, what I'm about to show you will become common knowledge soon enough. The age of Federation technological superiority is ending. It's better that your people understand what's coming. The screen split to show technical diagrams alongside Li Do's image. The diagrams showed the human ship's hull structure, but it looked unlike anything in Federation databases. Your weapons failed because our ships exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, Li Du explained. We learned this technology from entities that live in the spaces between galaxies, beings that exist outside normal space-time. Ryu Hana felt her breath catch. That's impossible. Multidimensional existence is purely theoretical. For your people, yes, Li Du agreed. But during our exile, humans had to adapt or die. We encountered intelligences that exist in what you might call parallel dimensions. They taught us to expand our understanding of reality. The diagrams changed to show energy patterns that hurt Ryu Hana's eyes to look at. The mathematical formulas accompanying them were unlike anything she had ever seen. Your Federation ships exist entirely in what we call base reality, Li Du continued. Your weapons operate only in three-dimensional space, but our vessels exist partially in base reality and partially in what we call quantum shadow space. When your weapons strike us, he explained, they pass through our base reality components and impact only empty shadow space. It's like shooting at a reflection in water. You see the target, but your bullets pass through harmlessly. Bei Jin leaned forward. But how do you affect base reality if you exist partially outside it? An excellent question, Li Du smiled. We can choose which dimensional layers to interact with. When we disabled Admiral Cho Min's fleet, we shifted our weapons into base reality just long enough to disrupt their systems, then shifted back to shadow space. Ryu Hana was frantically taking notes. The energy requirements for that kind of dimensional manipulation must be enormous. They would be, using Federation technology, Li Du agreed. But we no longer use technology in the way you understand it. We form partnerships with quantum entities that exist naturally in multiple dimensions. They provide the energy, we provide the direction. The implications hit Ryu Hana like a physical blow. You're saying that human ships are alive? In a sense, yes. Each of our vessels is a hybrid of human engineering and quantum consciousness. The ships think, to some degree. They choose their own responses to threats. They cannot be defeated by conventional weapons because they exist partially outside the reality where those weapons operate. Li Du paused to let that sink in. Doctor, Ryu Hana, your Federation has always believed that intelligence and technology were the ultimate weapons. But you limited yourselves to base reality. You never imagined that consciousness itself could transcend dimensional boundaries. This is incredible, Ryu Hana whispered. The scientific implications are staggering. You could revolutionize our understanding of physics, of consciousness, of existence itself. Yes, Li Du said sadly, we could have. If your Federation had not tried to exterminate us 3 centuries ago, humans and Federation species could have explored these discoveries together. We could have advanced together into a larger universe. The weight of lost opportunity settled over the laboratory like a heavy blanket. Ryu Hana thought about all the scientific discoveries that might have been made if the Great Purge had never happened. How much farther could galactic civilization have advanced with human creativity? And Federation resources working together? Captain Lee Do, she said. Is there any way to reverse what's happening? Could our species still work together? Lee Do's expression grew sad. Dr. Ryu Hana, I would like nothing more than to collaborate with scientists like you. But that choice was taken away from us 3 centuries ago. The Federation made its decision about humanity's place in the galaxy. But surely there's hope for the future. After the current crisis is resolved, after justice is served, couldn't we build something new together? Perhaps, Lee Do said. That will depend on whether your people can accept that they are no longer the dominant force in the galaxy, whether they can learn to coexist with species they once tried to eliminate. The transmission began to fade. Dr. Ryu Hana, I must go now. Our fleet is preparing for the final phase of operations. But I wanted you to understand that what's coming isn't about revenge or conquest. It's about ensuring that no species ever again suffers what happened to humanity. The screen went dark, leaving Ryu Hana alone with her thoughts and the incredible information she had just received. Doctor, Beijin said quietly, what do we do with this knowledge? Ryu Hana looked at the notes she had taken. The technical specifications for dimensional manipulation technology, the mathematical proofs for quantum consciousness integration, scientific discoveries that could advance Federation civilization by thousands of years. We do what scientists always do, she said finally. We learn, we adapt, and we hope that knowledge can build bridges where politics has failed. Outside the laboratory windows, stars glittered in the darkness of space. Somewhere among those stars, human ships waited, with technology that bordered on magic, technology that could have been shared with the galaxy if fear and prejudice had not poisoned first contact centuries ago. It was too late to change the past. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to build a different future. Assuming there was anyone left to build it with after the deadline expired in 8 hours. The 72-hour deadline had passed. Chancellor Bei Wan stood in the Federation Command Center, watching the tactical displays with growing dread. Every Federation fleet had been given the same order: maintain defensive positions and wait. Do not engage human forces unless directly attacked. It had been 4 hours since the deadline expired and nothing had happened. The human ships remained in their positions around key Federation worlds, silent and waiting. The lack of action was almost worse than an immediate attack would have been. Sir, Admiral Cho Min reported, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy buildups around human vessels throughout the galaxy. Something is happening. Before Bei Wan could respond, every screen in the command center activated simultaneously. The same image appeared on all of them. Captain Park Day standing in what looked like a massive courtroom. Behind him were hundreds of other humans, all wearing dark uniforms, all with the same grim determination. People of the Federation, Park Day began, the time for surrender has passed. You chose to reject our ultimatum. Now you will face the consequences of 3 centuries of genocide and oppression. Bei Wan stepped forward. Captain Park Day, we need more time to consider your demands. The Federation Council requires... The time for negotiation ended 4 hours ago, Park Day interrupted. However, we are not the monsters your propaganda described us as. We will not slaughter civilians or destroy worlds full of innocent people. He gestured to the space around him. Instead, you will face judgment. Every Federation leader, every military commander, every official who participated in or benefited from genocidal policies will be brought before a tribunal of survivors. The view changed to show the interior of a massive ship. The space was enormous, large enough to hold thousands of people. Rows of seats faced a central platform where human judges sat behind a curved desk. "This is the tribunal ship Justice Eternal," Park Day explained. "For the next 7 days, the leaders of the Federation will be transported here to face charges for crimes against humanity and other exterminated species." Admiral Cho Min looked at the readings from his sensors. "Sir, I'm detecting transport beams targeting command facilities throughout Federation space. They're taking people." On the screen, Park Day continued his explanation. "The trials will be broadcast live to every world in the galaxy. Your people will see the evidence of what their government has done. They will hear testimony from survivors. They will learn the truth that has been hidden from them for centuries." Bei Wan felt his stomach drop as a transport beam began to form around him. "Captain Park Day, I protest this illegal action. As Chancellor of the Federation, I have diplomatic immunity." "Chancellor." Park Day's voice followed him as the transport took hold. "You lost any claim to diplomatic protection when you built your government on the graves of exterminated species." The sensation of transport was disorienting. One moment, Bei Wan was standing in the Federation Command Center. The next, he was in a small holding area aboard the human ship. The walls were plain metal, and a single chair sat in the center of the room. It was spartan but clean, with adequate lighting and air circulation. A human guard stood by the door. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and alert eyes. Her uniform bore the insignia of the Terran Defense Fleet. "Chancellor Bei Wan," she said politely, "I am Corporal Nam Mi. You will be held here until your trial begins. You have access to food, water, and legal materials to prepare your defense." "This is kidnapping," Bei Wan protested. "The Federation will not recognize the authority of this tribunal." "The Federation no longer has a choice," Corporal Nam Mi replied. "Your military forces have been neutralized. Your command structure is being systematically dismantled. The human fleet now controls all major Federation installations." Through a small window, Bei Wan could see other holding areas. In each one sat a Federation official or military officer. Some he recognized: Admiral Cho Min, Director Yang Ho, General Kim Wan, dozens of others. The humans had captured the entire Federation leadership in a matter of hours. "How is this possible?" he asked. 300 years of preparation," Nam Mi answered. "We know everything about your government, your military, your command structure. We have been watching and planning for this day since the last human colony was destroyed." Hours passed. Bei Wan tried to sleep, but couldn't. The reality of his situation was too overwhelming. The Federation, the most powerful government in galactic history, had been defeated without a single shot being fired in anger. Finally, Corporal Nam Mi returned. "Chancellor, it's time for your trial." She led him through corridors that hummed with energy. Other Federation prisoners were being escorted by human guards to the same destination. No one spoke. The weight of what was happening was too enormous for words. The tribunal chamber was even larger than it had appeared on the screens. Thousands of seats were filled with humans and members of other species that Bei Wan didn't recognize. Survivors, he realized. Species that the Federation had eliminated or driven into exile. At the center of the chamber, Captain Park Day sat with 4 other judges. All were humans. All bore the scars of lives spent in exile. All looked at the Federation prisoners with eyes that held centuries of accumulated grief and anger. "Chancellor Bei Wan," Park Day said, as Bei Wan was brought to stand before the tribunal. "You are charged with conspiracy to commit genocide, crimes against sentient species, and the systematic oppression of survivor populations." "I plead not guilty to all charges," Bei Wan said. "I was not in power during the events you describe. I have spent my career promoting peace and cooperation between species." "Have you?" Park Day asked. "Let us examine the evidence." The air above the tribunal shimmered, and suddenly Bei Wan was experiencing memories that were not his own. He was inside the mind of a human child on the colony world New Hope as Federation ships appeared in the sky. He felt the terror as the child watched her parents killed. He experienced the pain as the colony burned around her. The neural interface continued, showing him memory after memory. Human families torn apart, scientists murdered in their laboratories, children starving in refugee ships as Federation forces hunted them through space. But the humans were not the only victims. Bei Wan experienced the final moments of the Kalani species as their homeworld was strip-mined for resources. He felt the despair of the Zephyrians as their culture was systematically erased and their people forced into labor camps. "Stop!" Bei Wan gasped, tears streaming down his face. "Please stop!" "These are the memories of the dead," Park Day said. "Every person your Federation murdered, every life your government destroyed. You wanted to know what crimes you're charged with? This is your answer." The neural link continued for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. When it finally ended, Bei Wan collapsed to his knees. The weight of all that suffering, all that loss, was crushing. "I didn't know," he whispered. "We were told it was different. We were told it was necessary for galactic peace." "Were you told that?" Park Day asked. "Or did you choose not to look too closely at how your peace was maintained?" Bei Wan thought. About all the classified reports that had crossed his desk, all the military operations described as peacekeeping missions or necessary interventions, all the times he had signed orders without asking too many questions about the details. Truth was always there," Park Day continued. "In your military archives, in your intelligence reports, in the testimonies of survivors who tried to petition your government for justice. You chose to ignore it because acknowledging it would have required you to change." Around the tribunal chamber, other Federation officials were undergoing their own trials. Each one was being forced to confront the true cost of the civilization they had built and maintained. Admiral Cho Min wept openly as he experienced the memories of human refugees his forces had hunted down. Director Yang Ho sat in stunned silence after witnessing the destruction of the colonies he had ordered destroyed. One by one, the foundations of their worldview were being systematically demolished. "Chancellor Bei Wan," Park Day said, "how do you plead to these charges?" Bei Wan looked around the chamber at the thousands of survivors watching his trial. Humans who had spent centuries in exile. Members of species he had never even known existed because the Federation had erased them so completely. He thought about his comfortable life on the capital world, his luxury apartments, his gourmet meals, his intellectual discussions with other leaders about the burden of maintaining galactic civilization, all of it built on the bones of the dead. "Guilty," he said quietly. "I plead guilty to all charges." A murmur ran through the chamber. Park Day nodded grimly. "Chancellor, do you understand the full scope of your guilt?" "I understand that I lived in luxury while billions suffered," Bei Wan replied. I understand that I chose comfort over justice. I understand that I am responsible for perpetuating a system built on genocide. And what do you believe your punishment should be? Wan thought about the human refugees who had died in the cold emptiness of space, about the children of exterminated species who would never be born, about all the art and science and culture that had been lost forever. I deserve to die, he said. We all do. Park Day studied him for a long moment. Chancellor, death would be the easy path. The 6 months had passed since the trials ended. The galaxy was a very different place now. Dr. Na Yeon stood on the observation deck of the joint research vessel New Horizon, watching human and Federation engineers work together to install quantum, dimensional technology on Federation ships. The cooperation would have been unimaginable a year ago, but the trials had changed everything. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Asked Captain Song Mi, the human officer who now served as the official liaison between the Reformed Federation and the Terran Defense Fleet. Na Yeon nodded. 6 months ago, I thought humans were extinct. Now I'm working with human scientists to revolutionize our understanding of physics. It's like living in a dream. Song Mi smiled, but there was still sadness in her eyes. Not all dreams are pleasant ones. We've learned that lesson the hard way. Through the viewport, they could see the construction of New Earth, a massive space habitat being built where the first human colony had once stood. Human and Federation workers labored side by side, creating something that honored the past while building toward the future. How are the rehabilitation programs going? Na Yeon asked. Better than expected, Song Mi replied. Former Federation officials like Chancellor Wan have been surprisingly effective at helping survivor species reclaim their worlds. Guilt is a powerful motivator for change. It was true. The trials had broken something fundamental in the Federation leadership, but what emerged from that breaking was often better than what had come before. Many officials who had learned the true cost of their civilization's comfort had dedicated themselves to making amends. Chancellor Wan himself now worked 18-hour days coordinating the return of stolen worlds to their original inhabitants. The former leader of the galaxy's most powerful government spent his time in refugee camps and ruined colonies, using his knowledge of Federation bureaucracy to cut through red tape and speed reconstruction efforts. And the resistance movements? Na Yeon asked. Song Mi's expression grew harder. Still active in some sectors, there are Federation groups that refuse to accept the new order. They're convinced that the humans are planning to enslave or eliminate all other species. It was the great irony of the situation. After 3 centuries of believing humans were extinct, some Federation citizens now feared that humanity would do to them what the Federation had done to others. The humans had been forced to deal with several attempted rebellions and terrorist attacks. How do you handle them? With more patience than they deserve, Song Mi said. Captain Park Day insists that we cannot build a just galaxy through unjust means, so we capture rather than kill. We educate rather than execute. We show mercy even to those who would deny it to others. The philosophy was working, slowly. Each act of human restraint, each choice to spare rather than destroy, gradually convinced more Federation citizens that the new order was not about revenge, but about justice. A chime indicated an incoming message. The main screen activated to show Captain Park Day speaking from the bridge of the Righteous Fury. Dr. Na Yeon, Captain Song Mi, he said with a slight bow. I have news that you should hear together. Good news or bad news? Song Mi asked. Both, Park Day replied. The good news is that the Kalani homeworld has been fully restored. The atmosphere processors have completed their work, and the first Kalani families returned to their ancestral home yesterday. Nayan felt a warm glow of satisfaction. The Kalani had been among the Federation's earliest victims, their world stripped of resources and atmosphere until it was uninhabitable. Restoring it had been one of the most challenging reconstruction projects. And the bad news? Song Mi asked. Park. Day's expression grew serious. We've received a message from the Outer Rim. A Federation fleet commanded by Admiral O'June has declared independence from the new government. They're calling themselves the True Federation and claim they will restore the galaxy to its proper order. Nayeon felt her heart sink. O'June had been one of the few high-ranking officers to escape capture during the trials. Intelligence reports suggested he had fled to the Outer Rim with a substantial fleet. How large a force are we talking about? Song Mi asked. Approximately 300 ships, Park Day replied, including several battlecruisers and the heavy carrier Eternal Glory. They've established a base in the Void sector and are recruiting disaffected Federation personnel. 300 ships, Na Yan mused. That's larger than some of our home defense fleets. Yes, Park Day agreed. But Admiral O'June has made a critical error. He's chosen to operate from the Void sector, which puts him in the territory of Ao, the Ashanti Confederacy. Na Yon didn't recognize the name. Who are the Ashanti? Song Mi's smile was predatory. Another species the Federation tried to exterminate. They escaped to the void between galaxies, just like humanity did. The Ashanti have been our allies for 2 centuries. And they don't take kindly to Federation forces in their territory, Park Day added. Admiral O'June probably thought the Void sector was empty space. He's about to learn otherwise. The screen split to show tactical displays of the Outer Rim. Red dots marked the positions of O'June's fleet, clustered around what appeared to be a hastily constructed space station. The Ashanti have already contacted us, Park Day continued. They're offering to deal with the problem themselves, but we've convinced them to let us handle it. This is an opportunity to demonstrate that the new galactic order can resolve conflicts without the wholesale slaughter that characterized the old Federation. Nayan studied the display. What's our plan? Simple, Song Mi said. We're going to give Admiral O'June exactly what he says he wants. A return to the old ways. A chance to prove that Federation military might can triumph over human technology. You're going to fight them? We're going to give them every opportunity to surrender peacefully first, Park Day clarified. But if they insist on violence, we'll remind them why the Federation lost the first time. 3 days later, Na Yon found herself aboard the observation deck of the New Horizon as it approached the Void sector. Through the viewport, she could see the human fleet. 50 ships, including the Righteous Fury, moving in perfect formation toward Admiral O'June's position. The communication system crackled to life with an incoming transmission from the Rebel Federation base. Human fleet, this is Admiral O'June of the True Federation Navy, came a familiar voice. O'June had been one of the more reasonable Federation commanders before the trials. His transformation into a rebel leader showed how deeply the new order had shaken some people. You are trespassing in Federation territory, O'June continued. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences. Captain Park Day's response was calm and measured. Admiral O'June, you are in violation of the Galactic Reconstruction Accords. You have stolen Federation military assets and established an illegal military base in neutral territory. Surrender your forces, and you will be treated with dignity. The only dignity I recognize is the dignity of the true galactic order, O'June replied. The Federation ruled this galaxy for 500 years. We brought peace, prosperity, and civilization to countless worlds. I will not allow human terrorists to destroy that legacy." Na-Yon shook her head sadly. Ojun still didn't understand. He couldn't see that the Federation's peace had been built on the graves of exterminated species. The trials had shown the truth to billions of people, but some simply refused to accept it. "Admiral," Park Day said, "you have 1 hour to evacuate all personnel from your base and surrender your fleet. After that, we will be forced to take action. I have 300 ships, human. You have 50. The mathematics are simple." "Admiral Ojun," Park Day's voice carried a note of sadness. "When will you people learn that mathematics means nothing when you're fighting forces that operate outside conventional reality?" The transmission ended, leaving the human fleet to wait in the darkness of space. Around them, Na-Yon could see the subtle shimmer that indicated ships shifting between dimensional layers. The humans were preparing for battle. An hour passed, then another. Finally, Admiral Ojun's fleet began to move. 300 Federation ships in full battle formation, advancing toward 50 human vessels. The Federation ships were beautiful in their way, sleek and powerful, representing centuries of technological development and military doctrine. They opened fire simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and quantum torpedoes. The display was magnificent and terrible, a light show that could be seen from several star systems away. When the light faded, the human fleet was unchanged, 50 ships hanging motionless in space, completely undamaged by the Federation attack. "All Federation vessels," Park Day's voice came over the communication system. "This is your final warning. Surrender now or face the consequences of your actions." Admiral Ojun's response was to order another volley. Again, the Federation fleet unleashed everything they had. Again, the human ships absorbed the attack without any visible effect. "So be it," Park Day said quietly. What happened next was nothing like the massive space battles of Federation history. There were no dramatic explosions, no ships breaking apart in spectacular displays of destruction. Instead, the Federation vessels simply stopped. One by one, 300 ships went dead in space, their engines shut down, their weapons powered off, their shields collapsed. In less